Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Glow Podcast. I am here today with a very exciting guest. I have Cecilia, and I'm super excited to talk with her. But before we get started, if you are new here, we are Tailored Marketing, and we partner with organizations in healthcare, longevity, and the wellness space to fuel growth through strategic marketing and sales strategies. So if you are interested, drop a comment below. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so excited to have you here and have this fun conversation. If you would, I would love if you would just go ahead and give a little bit of an introduction so the listeners know who you are.
Sure. Thanks for having me, Taylor. This is great. Hello, everyone.
Of course.
I am Cecilia Mannella, and I am a therapist out in Canada. I own a group practice called Eterna Counselling and Wellness, and I've done that for about 17 years. And in the last couple of years, I've moved into some of the business coaching space and specializing in helping therapists grow and scale their therapy practice.
Yeah, no, that's super awesome. And I'm sure, every business is so different. So it's like you can't just like if you're trying to scale a therapy practice, it's like you can't just go to someone who maybe has scaled like a nutrition company or whatever,
Sure.
because they have completely different business models. And so it's really cool that like you are so niche down in that space to help other therapists as well. And I'm sure that you've learned a lot of lessons along the way, which I'm sure we will get into a little bit as well.
For sure. For sure. Therapy just has its own complexities, right? Because we're so regulated and there's so many privacy issues and legal issues. And so a lot of the typical standard strategies, not only can we not do, we ethically cannot do. So it's a bit of a niche market and it has its like many challenges and there's ways to kind of move around them. So yeah, this will be a great conversation.
Yeah, no, that's super awesome. And so I guess like what kind of made you decide to start helping other practices? Were you having like a lot of people that were reaching out to you with like certain struggles that they were going through and you're like, aha moment, I know how to help you fix this?
It's so funny you asked that, Taylor, because it kind of did happen that way.
Yeah.
So I have this group practice and I've built it over, 17 years. And it started off as a business partnership and I bought my business partner out in about 2019. Everything kind of settled and then the pandemic was right around the corner. And I just was able to scale and grow in certain ways. And then it was about almost 2 years ago, someone sent me an email who just knew me in the community and was asking me for help and said, "Hey, would you consider like being my business coach? I need some help because I see what you've done."
Yeah.
I was like, okay, that sounds like fun. Why not? I help people on a daily basis anyway. So why not other business owners or specifically therapists?
Yeah.
And then it just kind of grew from there. And I realized that not everyone really knows how to grow a business. In the therapy world, we spend so many years in school. It's like usually 6 to 8 years to even become a therapist. And there's not a single class or conversation about business practice. And so you graduate and you have this like great fancy degree and you're going to be a therapist and all these things, but no one teaches you about business. And as much as therapists are really great at building relationships, they're not necessarily that great at figuring out business things. So it seemed like a little bit of a niche market and it's just kind of like blown up since then. So it's been great.
Yeah, no, I run into that a lot with like clients that I even work with, because a lot of them, they've gone to school for a long time and some of them are better with the business stuff and then some of them are not. But there's so many aspects to business too, as I'm sure that it's like you have your administration side, you have your sales side, your marketing side, and then it's like all of these things coming together too. And then also as like a therapist or a practitioner, you also are still seeing clients or patients regularly as well. And so it's figuring out like, how do I balance like these 10 different things and wear all of these hats? And so I guess when people are coming to you, what is like one of the main struggles that you kind of see them making in their therapy practice, with that being kind of the business side of it?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think probably the number one issue that drives therapy practice owners, I think, to look at coaching in particular is like lead generation, which I think every business is constantly focused on. But the
Yeah.
thing about, being in the wellness space, or especially like when we're so regulated and as therapists, is we again have never really learned about lead gen. To us, it's like clients find us and it's a very passive process where we just kind of like sit back and wait for people to come to us. But the
Yeah.
landscape has changed. It's not the same anymore. The consumer is smarter, they have way more options. Therapy has become a bit more common, which is great. Like we see the stigma has reduced significantly, which makes it more accessible. But there's also massive saturation in the market. And so the biggest issue is
Yeah.
about visibility, because in all of our clinical training, it's always the client is the focus, right? And in some ways, we as therapists are supposed to be invisible in the room or invisible in the space. And marketing or being visible online or having a digital profile means not being passive, which is
Yeah.
contradictory to our clinical training. And so, really, it's about teaching and helping therapists to not run their business from the therapy chair. So it's like
Yeah.
getting out of the therapist chair and getting into the business ownership, like putting a hat on that's very different, to see their practice differently and see it through the lens as a business owner versus it being what it probably was many, many years ago, which was everyone just kind of came to you. You didn't, I mean, I started 17 years ago. I barely had a website when I started, and it was HTML
Yeah.
coded. Like back in the day, you had to hire someone to like code your HTML website. It was awful. It was not pretty now that I look back at it. It's like
Yeah.
terrible colors. It's like you didn't have to do anything like 20 years ago. You like, and clients would just come through the door. And then that started to change probably like 10 years ago. Things started to get a little bit more sophisticated and websites got more, and we're talking about SEO and now we're in the space of like SEO and GEO and AI search. And if you don't have a really great digital, like virtual presence, you are dead in the water as a practitioner.
Yeah, no, you're so right too. It's hard a lot of times as well for people who maybe did start like 20, 25 years ago or even
Mhm.
longer too. And then they're used to people just coming to them. You know, they do like a quick Google search and they're like, oh, okay, like I found Cecilia. She's in my area.
Mhm.
She specializes in what I'm looking for. And then they're just like, okay, I'll go with her, you know? But now it's like there's so much information that if you're not sticking out in some way or you don't have a really good digital presence like you said, then you're not going to get new
No.
clients. You know, your client acquisition is just not going to be there. And that's something that I as well see all businesses struggling with is that client acquisition piece, lead generation piece, what you know, whatever you want to call it. And so when you're working with your clients, how and like what recommendations do you kind of make with creating better visibility online for them?
Well, one of them is actually just being online,
Yeah.
which sounds really silly, but the number of wellness practitioners, therapists, and I'm sure it's the same for most of the people in the wellness sphere,
Yeah.
is they barely have an online presence. They had their website built by somebody who was great at building websites, and it's really pretty. It's got
Yeah.
great branding, and then it's just sat there, and then that's it. They haven't done anything with it. They don't update it. There's nothing that changes. And so really it's about looking at what is actually out there for them first. Like search yourself. I tell people this all the time. Search like you're a client. Don't search as a professional, but put yourself in a potential client's position. So, and search like they would search. And
Yeah.
we're searching differently. Like, I'm sure you've noticed about you, but I noticed about me is that I'm no longer spending a ton of time going through multiple websites. Like, I rely on the AI overview a lot.
Yeah,
And
for
in
sure.
fact, like the research around the, especially younger generations using ChatGPT and all these AIs as actual search engines is going through the roof. And that's really what the AI companies want. They want it to be the search engine. So we're searching differently. And so if our presence online is catered to only to the old school SEO and Google search, you're missing the boat because things are moving very, very quickly. So the first thing is about having an online presence. The second thing is having a website that is actually updated. There's so many therapists. I met a therapist, it was like weeks ago, who had been in practice for 30 years, and the photo on her website was from when she was 20, and the woman on the call with me was in her 70s. Like,
Yeah.
what is that? You have to have updated photos. Like, you got to be a real person,
Yeah.
because with AI, like, we're in a trust recession, right? No, you don't know. You don't know if a video is real. You don't know if a photo is real. So anything that makes you more human is actually going to garner a lot of trust from people
Yeah.
who are on your site looking at you. So we're talking like put the imperfect photos on there. Like don't have them super edited, because if anything looks AI generated, people just move on. They don't want to, they want authenticity, they want reality, they want the messiness of like a real human.
Yeah.
And that's where that online presence really makes a difference, is showing up professionally in that space, but showing up a bit more human in that way. And then the third thing I really focus on with people is really niching down. And I know it's a niche or niche, however you want to say it. In Canada, we say niche.
Yeah.
And we talk about the riches being in the niches and all those things. But I think when it comes to service provision, so if we're talking about like therapy and occupational therapy or chiropractors and all these people that are in this wellness space, is we often think like, if I just help everyone, I'm going to have lots of people come to me. The bigger
Yeah.
net, the more people I catch. But that's actually not how it works. It's like the more specific you are, the more people you'll attract. And I think that people who are really educated and trained really struggle with this because they overthink it like crazy. Smart people overthink a lot. If anyone listening, you're an overthinker, it means they're quite intelligent.
Yeah.
We typically overthink things and we're really smart. And we think if we have a really big net, we're going to capture people. But the truth is that if you put yourself in the position of a customer or a client that you're hoping to attract, they're looking for something specific because they're searching specific. So for example, if I had a back pain, my lower back pain, and I'm searching for services to help me with my lower back pain, I'm being really specific in my search now. And that's what's
Yeah.
changed in our search behavior. Whereas let's say 5 years ago, I would be like chiropractor in my area. Now I'm looking for service providers to help me with my lower back pain. So we're getting really specific in how we search, which is great. So then that means that anyone who's speaking directly to helping someone with their lower back pain, that's going to show up on my search. It's not going to
Yeah.
be a million practices around chiropractors in my area. It's going to be really, really specific. So creating like a niche down, being really clear about who you serve, what you do, what problems you solve, really creates the biggest difference.
Yeah. No, I think that that's great. And I think you're 100% right too about like what you were just talking about with the niche. I think that it is like if you're talking to everyone, then you're talking to no one. You have to be talking to a very specific person. And in order to do that, you kind of have to make that like ideal client. Like, who do I really want to work with? You have to think about that, and also who can I serve best too, like as a therapist especially. And then also another really good point that you brought up too is I think our search patterns are changing a lot. And like I'm even seeing that too with my clients who like do have their GEO really optimized, like they're getting clients from ChatGPT, literally,
Oh,
which is crazy.
that's it's crazy. We think it's crazy now, but I'm old enough, to remember when Google took off. Like when I remember the internet when it came in, like I grew up in a time where we didn't have cell phones. I remember getting my first cell
Yeah.
phone when I was 8, like 16, 17. So, and I'm only 47. So like a lot has changed in a very,
Yeah.
30
Completely
years, which is
changed.
incredible. Like things have happened. But Google was not our original search engine. Like that wasn't what we were searching under. So I can't even remember what the first search engine was because it's no longer exists. So I
Yeah.
remember when Google was like began and it started to dominate the industry, and you're like, holy crap, we better get on this SEO thing because I don't know, like I got to learn this, right? And so it's not surprising to me that AI is taking over, and the creators of the bigger AI companies, so like Google, the Gemini and ChatGPT and Claude, they're all competing to be a search engine. And ChatGPT recently released that they're launching an actual search engine that's going to compete with Google. So like a GEO and AI search optimization is it's not just the future, it's like right now.
It's
It's
now.
happening right
Yeah.
now to the point where SEO is not going to matter as much. It's definitely going to be just GEO because it's going to be, they want to give people the answer they're looking for, like really
Yeah.
specific. Anyone who's listening who's a business owner, go into into AI and ask for services in your area that are your competitors and see if you even show up.
Yeah.
Like if you don't show up in an actual AI search, like when you're in Chat GPT, so I tell people like go into Chat GPT and ask Chat GPT, what are the best therapists in my area? And here's where I live. And if your practice doesn't show up there, that's telling you something.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Definitely.
it's a really powerful thing. Like everyone's turning to Chat GPT instead of going into a search engine. It's quite incredible the changes that are happening.
Yeah, it is, and it's happened so quickly too. You know,
Hmm.
it's happened really, really quickly because even like a year ago, you would talk to people, a lot of people were using ChatGPT a year
Mm.
ago, but now everyone is using ChatGPT. Like everyone
Hmm.
knows kind of the capabilities and functions that AI has or is going to have, and especially too, like you said, the younger generation
Mm.
were introduced to ChatGPT like when it came out, like that's what they're using as their search
Hmm.
engine now. And so it really is like the future, and it's really, really important. And have you found like any ways, I guess, to show up on ChatGPT? I know it's obviously it's based on all of your online presence, and I mean, I know like some things that have worked, but I
Mm.
think we're all still kind of figuring it out together too, you know?
That, it's so true. There's definitely ways to, I'm not going to use the word hack because it sounds like, it's like a cheat sheet kind of a way of doing things, but there's definitely things that AI search prioritizes.
Yeah.
And this is where so many people in the service industry can really dominate because I think that we have so much to give. So AI really looks for, they call it the EAT model. So EEAT. And it's a really strong framework that AI uses in order to you want AI to grab you. I always say like,
Yeah.
AI is really super fast and you want someone asks the question because AI is very much about answering a question. So the goal of AI, from my understanding and what we've done in our practice, is to answer the questions people typically search for. So the number one thing you can do is really ask yourself, like, what are my clients asking for? Whatever you're providing, what are typical questions that they're asking? And then create an answer to it. Because the EAT framework is really about prioritizing experience, expertise, authority, and trust.
Yeah.
So that's what EAT stands for. And if you can use this guideline into through everything of your content, that, are you talking about your experience? Are you showcasing your expertise? So if you've got credentials and training and all those kind of things, to have those visible. Authority really speaks to, can you answer this question with authority? So this isn't, a lot of people think this is about like showcasing your degrees, and has nothing to do with that. The
Yeah.
authority piece is like, if someone's asking a question, is it normal to experience anxiety at 2 a.m.? Okay, that's a legitimate question, and people ask this all the time. If you
Yeah.
were to write something on a blog that is actually titled that, and then you answer the question, whenever someone asks that question in your area, AI over time is going to grab you as an authority to answer that question. So
Okay.
it's kind of like a hack in so many ways. And in doing that, you build trust. So if you continuously show up with authority on topics and answering questions, then you kind of gain more trustworthiness from the search engine. And I know we talk about AI as if it's this person, but it kind of weirdly is. Like,
Yeah.
it recognizes patterns, right? And over time, when it grabs you more often, it sees you as a reliable source, and then it continues to grab you and grab you and grab you. And it actually like exponentially increases your optimization for AI. So the EAT model is transformative. If nothing else, you take off this podcast, just Google EEAT framework and it will break it all down, and you can go through your content and change that, because that's a really important thing. The other thing to really highlight that will get you more traffic or more client acquisition on your website is having like an FAQ that isn't traditional. We're so used to having our, especially in therapy. So the FAQs in therapy practices are typically like, what is therapy? And what is your cancellation process? And what does, what's the difference between a clinical social worker and a therapist? Okay, so those are questions that we as professionals think a client is searching for, but that's not what they're searching for. So
Yeah.
if you can use your FAQs to answer questions that people are legitimately searching for, then you're more likely to show up as a suggestion for a service in your area.
Yeah.
And niching down, this is where the niching down is like gold, is like having something really specific that you serve, a topic that's really specific. So when someone's searching for an answer, you will pop up. They will grab you as a person that has authority to answer that question. So it isn't about the back end anymore. SEO was so back-endy, like we would hire SEO
Yeah.
companies to do all the SEO on the back of our website, and AI optimization, so GEO, isn't really about the back end. It really is about the front end of like, what are you putting on your actual website?
Yeah. No, it's like you just got to create a bunch of content to feed the monster,
Yes.
basically.
Yes. You have to, and it doesn't, and people get really overwhelmed with it, like, oh, I don't want to do that. And it's like, well, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
You can have a massive influx of clients and not create content. So you can be creative in the way that you create content. It can be educational. It can be informative. It can be psychoeducational. It doesn't have to feel like something, you don't have to dance. You don't have to do a TikTok video because most people are like, I don't want to do those things. Please don't do the trendy things. Like those are the influencers who are doing weird things.
Yeah.
But for professionals, like we have so much education and we have so much expertise and we know so much. It's just about sharing that education with other people in a way that boosts your ranking and boosts the AI's ability to grab you.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. You have to create content, like we said, but it doesn't have to be the stuff that maybe makes you feel weird or icky or whatever. Like,
No.
it can be just like writing, like you would do anyway, and just sharing your knowledge, because it's things like you said, like, is it normal to wake up at 2 a.m. with anxiety? And like, it's things like that where, yes, you have the answers to it and it seems so easy to you, but there's people on ChatGPT at 2:30 a.m. looking it up because they're having anxiety or, whatever that might be. But just making it things that are searchable. And I think that that's really, really good advice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because over time, because there's this thing they call it 0 clicks, and I learned this about a year ago in that. So you used to run Google Ads and it would go to like your homepage and that was considered to be a click. But on AI, because it's a large language model, it is grabbing the answer to the question someone's asking. And most of the times those answers are not on our homepage. They're somewhere else on our website or they're in a blog post. So what's happening now is it grabs a blog post and it feeds it to the person searching. And that person clicks on it, reads a blog post. So they have never landed on your homepage. And they may never get to your homepage because from that blog post, they may go directly to wanting to book an appointment, or they may go to other resources on your website or look at bios, and they've never landed on your homepage.
Yeah.
And so I think we're so used to obsessing about homepages, and we're not used to people coming in basically from the back doors. If your website is your house and it's your best real estate because it's the only thing you really own, we're so used to everyone coming through the front door, and we're not realizing that actually people can come through any point. They can come through the back door, through the back windows, like anywhere. And if we're not optimizing those other entry points, we're really missing potential clients and leaving a lot of money on the table when it really comes down to business, because we all want to be profitable. It is really about looking at the entire thing versus just looking at the front door.
No, I completely agree with you. I think that that's really, really good advice. And I would love for you to just talk like a little bit more about the services for coaching, for therapists and wellness practices and everything that you offer as well.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I offer a little bit of a slew of things. I'm clearly really passionate about this.
Yeah.
Because I'm on a mission. I really am on a mission for therapists and wellness practitioners to make a good income. So because I think just because we're in helping profession doesn't mean that we shouldn't, have a profitable business and feel really good about feeling secure in our business. So people can work with me one-on-one coaching. I have many one-on-one coaching clients. I'm starting a mastermind in the new year, but what really people come to me for, really the entry point, is the program I have is called the Full Practice Formula. And in there, it's an 8-week program where I go through all this marketing stuff, but it's like visibility. And there's a lot of mindset stuff in there because we got to get into the thinking like a client and thinking like a marketer and kind of leaving the therapy chair behind for a bit and stepping into the business mindset of things and working through all of these things around AI and websites and how to maximize blogs and how to create content that's really smart, but also like how to make AI your assistant in a really ethical way, because that's a really complicated thing in the world of mental health, is how do we use these systems that are really ethical and staying within the parameters of our profession. And I'm doing a free masterclass on October 6th, where I go through, like my 3-step framework that, anyone can join, and I can give you the link and it can be in your show notes. Anyone can participate and come hang out, and I kind of run through the highlights of the 3 major things you can do to make a change on how you're showing up visibly online and increase your visibility as much as possible.
Awesome. That is great. And will you also let everybody know what's the best place to find you online as well? And I'll include that link in the show notes as well, too.
Yeah. If you're a therapist listening, I have a podcast. It's called Purpose to Profit, Scaling Your Therapy Practice. So you can find me there. I spend most of my time on LinkedIn. Just Cecilia Mannella at LinkedIn. You'll find me there. I'm there quite often. And I quite like LinkedIn more so than some of the other platforms, but I spend most of my time there. So follow me, shoot me a DM. It's fantastic. I love connecting with everybody.
Awesome. Cool. That sounds great. I will put that in the show notes. Like I said, I really, really appreciate you coming on today. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Taylor. This was so fun.
Thank you.